You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
From the rolling bluffs of the Driftless region to the pristine shorelines of Superior in Michigan, from the Northwoods to the Kettle Moraine, Civic Media broadcasts across all of Wisconsin for all of Wisconsin. Take a trip with us across the radio network to hear from communities throughout the state. This is the Civic Media Spotlight.
Welcome back to the second hour of the Civic Media Spotlight. We kick off with Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba. In this segment, we hear from the heartfelt farewell to radio veteran Jane Matenaer, who illustrated a 44-year career span of news and music radio, culminating in her Civic Media shows. Jane shares her journey, the emotional weight of covering news, and her future plans post-retirement.
Welcome back. This is Nite Lite. I am Pete Schwaba, and it is great to have you with me, folks. Why does Google ask me to sign in right before I need Google? Literally, the seconds are ticking down. Hey, can you sign in with that password you haven't used in a year? Awful. You should ask your friend ChatGPT about that.
You know, I don't. Maybe it'll tell me to make the passwords easier to remember.
Probably. All right, folks, we are moving on here. It's going to be really fun. I'm very excited to have my next guest on the show. She has spent over 40 years in the radio racket. I think did a little TV too, did some news, maybe spun some tunes, and hosted. I'm going to tell you about what she did. She did one of the coolest things ever and is the creative force behind a song we'll tell you about in just a minute. But she most recently has hosted her own show here on Civic Media for the last 2+ years, I believe, with Greg Bach. And her name is Jane Matenaer, and the show is Matenaer on Air. And Jane joins us now over the stream. Hi, Jane.
Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Oh, it's our pleasure. I'm glad you were able to. It's a big week for you, so I appreciate you taking the time. And your house looks so festive, if that is your house.
I brought in the tree just for you.
Did you just cut that down a few minutes ago?
I did, yes. Yes, exactly. On my way home from work.
I appreciate that. You're like Diana Ross. You could redo your living room for an interview. And
sure.
Cut down a tree.
Me and Diana, we have so much in common, yes.
You do. Well, you both have had long careers, Jane. And how are you doing? Like, how do you feel this week?
It's a little unsettling. I won't lie. This has been my life for 44+ years. But at the same time, Pete, I was talking to a friend about this, and she asked me over the weekend how I was doing. And I said, I look back at things and where I started from, and I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
I am satisfied. And I think that's a gift. I do. I don't know that everybody gets to say that after their, whatever they chose to do over the course of their lives, that they can leave with some satisfaction. And I think I'm satisfied.
Wow, you're right. That's about all you can ask for. Before we continue with this line of questioning, do you have a favorite Jack Nicholson movie, Jane?
Oh, excellent question.
Thank you.
There are so many, but I love Something's Gotta Give that he did with Diane Keaton.
Yeah, great movie.
It's a wonderful film. It really is. It's a great, great movie.
That is a great choice. All right. So let's get back. I've got so much to ask you. You've spent many years doing news, and I'm sure some of those that could probably stay with you depending on the story. But can you share any highlights you had doing news, a good story or something you broke that was really cool?
Well, and I'm really grateful TMJ took me on, and I am not a journalist, Pete.
Yeah.
And I've always been tried to be very clear about that. I have great respect for journalists, which I am not. I don't have a degree in that, but I had the opportunity to help out a charity in Slinger that did therapeutic horse ride lessons for adults and children with special needs. And they were going to be closed because they had a bathroom that was not ADA compliant. And so TMJ let me do a story about them and their attempts, and we helped raise enough money to get that bathroom put in. And
that's cool.
As what people were, but that's the other thing I found over the years, Pete, is how generous people in Wisconsin are. Truly, I've been involved in different fundraisers of all different kinds over the years. We did Stuff the Bus at the Mix for decades. And the day before Thanksgiving, a food drive. And people would come out in droves. We would fill up 3 buses full of donated food. And so I've always been overwhelmed and humbled by the generosity of our listeners and people who've listened to me in different places all over the years. But the other thing about doing news that I don't know I expected, and maybe that's why I'm not a journalist and I would not be a good journalist, because I found covering some things so very, very heavy.
Yeah.
And I found it very difficult. The Uvalde school shooting in particular, I found very, very upsetting. And I had a hard time shaking that off.
You had such a great, you mentioned TMJ, and that's where I started kind of doing some guest hosting. That's where I met you. I'm sure you don't remember me. I did like 20 shows. But I thought the second I heard you talk, Jane, I just think she has the best voice. And you kind of like, and you must know you have a great voice for broadcasting. When did you know that? Like, when did that occur to you?
Oh, but Pete, I've been a ham for such a really long time. It did. It started very early. I was raised Catholic from a big Catholic family.
Same.
We were in Mass when I was about 4 or 5. And it was a particular service where the priest goes through, let us kneel, and everyone kneels. Let us stand, everyone stands. Let us sit, everyone sits. And I said to my mother when everything was nice and quiet, quite loudly apparently, why doesn't he make up his mind? And the whole congregation burst out laughing. And it made it into the paper, and they hung it on the fridge. And I just remember thinking, well, all I did was ask what I thought was a perfectly reasonable question, and I got a great reaction that I never expected, this great laugh. And I think that kind of set me on a path to seek more of that. I want to make people laugh.
I trust your smart assery was nullified in the confessional, I hope. Later at some point.
I don't go anymore, so that kind of alleviates that problem.
You know, speaking of Catholicism, I'm the same way. 16 years, Jane, of Catholic school here, and it had no effect. No, I'm kidding. But I remember making my first confession. A bunch of us were in line in like 3rd or 4th grade at this Catholic school in Chicago, and the priest came out to yell at us, and I was next. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now he knows what I'm going to say to him, because this was back in the day where you went in and there was that cloth there and they couldn't see who you were, but he just came out and gave us the business. And I'm like, well, now I got to go in there. He's going to know that I killed a guy in 3rd grade or something, you know.
Well, but they kind of could see through we had the little screen.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't tell me you didn't know who was who.
You're probably right.
Who are we kidding?
So were you a DJ before you did news? Like, did you work at music stations?
Oh, that was the beginning.
Talk about that a little, please. That's great.
My very first job was at KNUJ Radio in New Ulm, Minnesota.
Wow.
Which was a polka station in a very heavily agriculture community. And I helped them launch their hip FM station, KXLP. And when we first went on the air, there were only 2 of us. And I did middays from 10 to 2 or 3. And then he did 3 to 7 until we built out the staff. And then I was there for about 3 years and moved to the Milwaukee area. And when I started at the Mix, I started at overnights. But I went into radio because I wanted to be the cool night rock chick. Nice. And I am none of those things. I am not cool. I was never a rock chick. It was like,
You're way
so
too
when
humble.
I started... No, but it wasn't, it didn't fit who I am. And I was doing nights on the Mix, and the general manager, Jack Lee, God bless him, apparently heard me and thought, she's pretty good. We should move her. And so they moved me to mornings. And that's where I spent the rest of my career, pretty much.
It must be tough going through life not being as cool as your voice. That's what I'm hearing. You don't think you were cool. I totally disagree. Jane Matenaer is my guest. She is the host of Matenaer on Air here on Civic Media for a few more days anyway. She's had an amazing career. We've got one texter, Tom in Hartford, Jane, who says, Polka Jane? Sure, that works.
KNUJ played polkas. And what I remember very specifically about that, my first job there, was reading farm implement commercials live when there would be 4-syllable words that I had never seen before. And you're just, so I learned how to say things really, really quickly when I didn't know what I was saying.
When you said you were spinning polka tunes and then you went to, you set up a hip, you're not talking about polka as a hip.
No, we were,
Okay.
no. We played contemporary. It was probably hot AC would have been the category at that time. But it was, don't forget, this was the very early 80s. And so it was lots of Air Supply and
Love it.
Little River Band and that kind of stuff. And,
All those bands that you are embarrassed to admit you love when their songs come on.
There are still some. I love Pure Prairie League. I still
Me
have
too.
I have old 70s albums, and I grew up on Bread and all those really sappy love songs and and now I am no longer a ballad person. I don't listen to ballads. They annoy me.
You're older and jaded. Now you're cool.
Well, jaded, certainly. Cool, questionable.
Jane, all right. So for the last couple years, you've been hosting your own show on Civic Media here. What has that been like? Had you done something like that previously? Your own talk show where you get to talk about events that you deemed important or that you were interested in? What's that been like?
It's been a wonderful experience, and I am so grateful to Civic Media because I came with Kristen Bry. I had met her when I was working at TMJ. She had gotten the opportunity with Civic Media, and she said, "You want to come with?" And I said, "Sure, let's go."
Nice.
And landed there. And then when she decided she had another opportunity that she took, and they offered me the opportunity, and I was a little intimidated, but I think producing for Kristen for that first about year really helped my confidence. And it's just about being informed, and I think, and reading as much as humanly possible about the things that you're going to be talking about. And admitting also that I don't know everything, and that's why we have experts on who can explain to me.
That's a great answer. We have Sydney Politics on the stream says, sorry if I missed it already, but what's happening with the Matenaer show after she retires? Well, your co-host Greg will take over for a while, right? That's the plan.
Yes.
How's it been working with Greg? Do you have to keep him in line?
It's been so wonderful. No, it's been so wonderful. We have had so many laughs and in some very difficult moments. And there was a point about 2 months after the election, the presidential election, and I found a story, I think it was in the Cap Times, about they had a school naming contest in the Madison area to rename a school. And they left it up to the public. And so you know how it went. And so the choices were Schoolie McSchoolerson and Schoolie this, and the other one was Big Chungus. And Greg and I were talking about this off the air, and we just had one of those laughing fits, you know, when it's so ludicrous and so silly. And we laughed like that, like we were 7 years old for about 10 minutes. Those are the moments I am going to miss and cherish and remember, and just to see how much he has grown in his role, and now that he's going to be stepping in. And it's very exciting. I'm so proud of him. I'm so happy. It's been wonderful working for Calvin. I've loved everybody at Civic Media.
All right, Jane Matenaer is here. We'll have her for a few more minutes. We're going to do a very short break. Tom also says, Jane, you were both wonderful. And we've got a little more text love I'll read after the break. Jane Matenaer is here. We are coming right back. It's Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs across the network weekdays from 6 until 8 p.m. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
We stick with Nite Lite on the Civic Media Spotlight. Pete continues to talk about the beautiful career Jane Matenaer had in the media industry.
Welcome back. So great to have you with me on this Tuesday night as we prepare for weather. It's looming. That's a great feeling. I hope you're inside and safe and warm, everybody, and talking about the things we love to talk about in life. We're doing it here tonight, movies, comedy, TV, and I'm going to give you the keyword again in our multi-state not adult. Conrad, what is it? Grown-up gift list.
Yes.
Not adult. That could be construed the wrong way. So it's our grown-up gift list in our multi-state text-to-win contest. We love our text-to-win contest. Once again, this hour's keyword, you have to use the app to text this in, folks, is holiday. 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 Good luck, everybody. Our question of the night is, what is your favorite Jack Nicholson movie? Jack just turned 88 2 or 3 days ago. And more importantly, we're talking with our good friend and the host of Matenaer on Air for the last couple of years here at Civic Media. She is hanging it up this week. So it's great that she took some time here to spend a few minutes with us on Nite Lite. Miss Jane Matenaer.
So nice to be here. Thank you so much, Pete.
It's great, Jane. Thank you. It's been fun, like just listening to and learning from you for the last couple of years. So thank you for that. But you and I spoke recently on your show. Here's one of my memories I have of Jane Matenaer. And you said, look for something in the movie Green and Gold that doesn't make sense. So I watched that movie like a hawk. And I'm like actively.
Where is it?
Performatively watching this movie. And I came up empty. But you had an issue with the ladder.
Yes.
Someone leaving a ladder out.
Yes.
In Wisconsin.
It was a plot point, and they needed an accident to happen in order to move the plot along.
Right.
So they had a ladder out in fall, and then it was Christmas time because there were Christmas lights on the eaves, and the ladder was still up. And I said, no self-respecting Wisconsinite would leave the ladder up and just put lights over it. It would never happen.
Yeah.
It would never happen. And it just ate at me. It's like anyone who lives here, no.
That's so funny. Jim on the stream says, Jane's voice reminds me very much of Lauren Bacall, a legend in film. Have you heard that before, Jane? I'd be willing to bet.
I haven't. Thank you. What a wonderful compliment. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. So what are you going to do now, Jane? You're going to have all this time on your hands. Do you collect stamps or beer cans? Are you going to watch some colored television?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be stamps. No, my husband and I are trying to get rid of things. We've been in our house for 24 years, and not that we're going anywhere, but, you just accumulate so much stuff.
Yeah.
We have so much stuff. So I swear, Monday, I'm going to be taking my car to the shop because it started making a new noise. My 13-year-old Subaru, I'm not feeling good about this.
Oh, boy.
So, but then I'm going to start going through things and trying to get rid of things. And I don't want to, I am trying to be as responsible as possible with goodwill and upcycling and as much of that as humanly possible to keep it out of landfills. So,
do you have that Catholic thing where you go, is God trying to tell me something because I'm hanging it up this week and now my car goes on the fritz? Is this God's way of getting back at me or telling me I should stay in radio, Jane?
Oh, no, I never thought that at all until you planted that seed in my head.
Jane, this has been so fun. I've loved having you on the show. I hope you'll still come back sometime, even though you're retired. You are going to be, you're going to need some things to do.
Oh, well, absolutely. Hey, they're letting me keep the laptop and the microphone. So I'm always available. And by the way, I have all your email addresses, so don't think you're getting rid of me.
Sweet.
You can just hide from me? No.
All right. Before we let you go, I have one thing. A lot of people might not know this about you. And the great Mike Clemens is the one who told us about this. But you are also a songwriter. I made a film called The Godfather of Green Bay. We screened it last week in Madison. I feature the Macarena throughout the film as this drug guy's main song that he loves. I had no idea until recently that you wrote a version of that song with Mike Clemens. Do you care to elaborate?
Oh, absolutely. Our program director at the time, Brian Kelly, said Macarena is a huge global hit. It's waiting for a parody. I want you guys to do this. And so Mike and then my then partner, Dan Weber, and I all kind of took turns and wrote lyrics for it. And then Brian and I went down to Chicago and recorded it. And it became a crazy, crazy sensation. We sold cassettes because that's how long ago it was. We sold cassettes for $5 and we raised, I believe it was $92,000.
What?
For the Child Abuse Prevention Fund. And we had a worldwide map up in the studio and we would put pins in because we were hearing from all over the world. We mailed cassettes everywhere.
All right, we have to hear just a quick snippet of that before we let Jane go. Conrad, if you please.
Lieutenant Brooks and an Edgar and a Reggie, Jackson and Shamura and a Holmgren and a Jackie, Jones and a Leroy and a Nixon and a Dorsey. Hey, Macarena! Lieutenant Brooks and an Edgar and a Reggie, Jackson and Shamura and a Holmgren and a Jackie, Jones and a Leroy and a Nixon and a Dorsey. Hey,
that is so great.
Macarena.
And if you thought the original Macarena got stuck in your head.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah, it's a bad earworm. You won't thank me. One little tidbit about the Macarena. The captain of the space shuttle at that time was from Wisconsin, and I actually have footage of NASA playing the Macarena for him as their wake-up call, and him doing a dance as he's floating. It's so cool.
What a cool thing. Hopefully, maybe a few more songs. You've got the time now, Jane, to check it out.
That's true.
Before we
I'll
let
do
you go,
some blues.
There you got the voice for it. John Murray in the 608 says, "Enjoy your retirement. You've earned it, and come back as a guest often as your family will allow." Be well, Jane. And my sentiments exactly. Jane, thank you so much. Enjoy your retirement, and please don't be a stranger.
I will not, and thank you so very much, Pete, Conrad. You guys take care. Take care, everybody.
All right, that's Jane Matenaer. You can still hear her this week. She's sticking around, and Greg Bach, her partner in crime, will be sticking around as well. So that's good. Thank you to Jane Matenaer. When we come back, we've got, Greg Vadney is going to be here talking about Manitowoc. We got a quiz for Greg, Wisconsin Historical Society stuff in the third hour, great holiday events, a lot coming. Question of the night. It's all happening here on Nite Lite. Great to have you with me. It's Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
In the sky, among the clouds in the heaven goes.
Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs across the network weekdays from 6 until 8 p.m. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
Next up on the Civic Media Spotlight, we have Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Pat catches up with Ruth Conniff, editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin Examiner, to discuss how the state Supreme Court might make it harder for mass secret police to use county jails as part of their roundup of people suspected of being undocumented immigrants, despite the lack of probable cause and an arrest warrant.
Tomorrow on the program, we will have Ellie Bordeaux, our newsletter editor at Up North News. Earl Ingram will be along as well. And we'll have Melissa Baldoff with our climate check joining us too. So stick around. And of course, another chance to win in the grown-up gift list text to win contest. You've got your next chance in the 9 o'clock hour for Matenaer on Air. But we, of course, kick things off in the 7 o'clock hour each weekday morning here with a keyword that you can text in. So do that again tomorrow morning in the 7 o'clock hour. Happy to welcome in Ruth Conniff now from the Wisconsin Examiner to talk about some of the stories that they have been covering. And there's a lot between gubernatorial campaigns wrapping up and things at the national level. And then there's that intersection of national and state news when it comes to the various ICE raids around the country. And Ruth has written a column that says, Wisconsin communities have been standing up to ICE. Now the state Supreme Court could do the same. And you can read more over at wisconsinexaminer.com. And Ruth Conniff is with us right now. Ruth, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good, thanks.
Well, nice to see you. And let's talk about this, especially in the way of explaining, it's one thing to round people up. It's another thing to detain them, especially if you don't have an arrest warrant. And now, so that's where we get into the difference between an arrest warrant versus something called an administrative warrant. So can you set us up a bit more with, how that ties into whether or not Wisconsin's county jails can and should be used by ICE for these types of things?
Yeah, I mean, there are communities around our state that are grappling with this. So some of them had signed ICE cooperation agreements like Palmyra and then decided that, in fact, it was not a good idea. The community did not like the idea of local law enforcement functioning basically as an arm of federal immigration enforcement. So there are communities that are working with ICE where local law enforcement is picking people up or holding people in county jails past the time that it makes sense to hold them there so that ICE can pick them up and deport them. And then there's a lot of activism at the local level saying, this is just not what we want Wisconsin to look like. We don't want to start to see the kinds of scenes that we're seeing in St. Paul and Minneapolis and Chicago, where people are just getting grabbed off the street And as you point out, there's a difference between an administrative warrant, which is just ICE saying they think somebody might be here without documents, and a judicial warrant, which is really what the Trump administration started out saying it was trying to do, which is pick up people who have committed crimes for deportation. So a lot of the people who are being picked up on an administrative warrant, there's no crime. And this is what we're seeing with ICE detentions around the country, is that they are mostly people who have not committed any kind of crime. They are, people who are working, who have families, and these violent scenes of people being grabbed off the street are really alarming.
Well, I mean, you rightly mention, or the way you describe it, is a campaign of terror. And that, here we were promised, I guess, some kind of relief from the violence being perpetrated by migrants. The violence is being perpetrated by masked secret police who, as you write here, masked federal agents are aiming guns at civilians, smashing out car windows and dragging parents from their children, hustling them off to detention centers to be fast-tracked out of the country without due process. Mm-hmm. I don't think campaign of terror is in any way, shape, or form hyperbolic here.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why it's very significant that the Wisconsin Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case to decide whether it's constitutional in the state of Wisconsin for local law enforcement to cooperate in these raids when there's no underlying crime. There's no other reason for law enforcement to be involved. And this is something that individual communities have decided across the state. But now the Wisconsin Supreme Court is going to hear this case and decide whether, in fact, we're just not going to do this here in Wisconsin. We have a relatively quiet time compared to some of our neighboring states. We haven't seen this kind of really scary stuff happening very much in our state. And I think there's a really good shot that the Supreme Court will decide that that's just not the way that Wisconsin works. That's not the way that our laws allow people to behave.
Yeah, the case was filed, you write, by the state chapter of the ACLU on behalf of the immigrant rights group Voces de la Frontera, contending that Wisconsin law enforcement agencies do not have the authority to make arrests or keep people in jail on detainers based solely on ICE's administrative warrants, which is, again, to say, because the knee-jerk reaction is, soft on crime or things like that. When we're talking about administrative warrants, we are not talking about the narco terrorists that Trump and others promised was going to be the focus of all of this ICE activity.
No, I mean, we're talking about roofers and landscapers and, dairy workers and, people who have been part of our communities for a long time and who are peaceful, hardworking people. And that sort of violent raids that terrify people are not making our communities safer.
Yeah, let's highlight some of the other things that you can find over at WisconsinExaminer.com. Not the least of which that caught my eye. Medicare's new AI experiment sparks alarm among doctors and lawmakers. The article says, and I'm just going to read the lead because again, it seems almost dystopian here. A Medicare pilot program will allow private companies to use artificial intelligence to review older Americans' requests for certain medical care, and will reward companies when they deny it. So again, this is Medicare. People have paid in their taxes all their lives. They are expecting medical care. Doctors are requesting care. But if health insurance companies use AI to review these things and deny the doctors' and patients' request for care, they're actually going to get a bonus in our tax dollars. I wish I could say you can't make this stuff up, but it's right there at the Wisconsin Examiner website.
It is scary to think. This is a pilot program. It's being launched in several states. It's part of Medicare Advantage. And so we, for a long time, have had a problem in this country that we have a healthcare system that is based on the profits of the middleman, the insurance companies. So, the way that you squeeze more money out of the healthcare system is to deny people care. So there's already a problem with private health companies denying care in order to save money. This accelerates it through the government provided system of Medicare. Medicare Advantage is contracts with private companies, and the introduction of AI makes it even more creepy.
Sinister, yes.
Yeah. So you don't have you have doctors who say that people need a certain treatment or a certain procedure, and then you have AI reviewing the record and saying, no, maybe we can save the money and not allow them to get that care.
Yes, again, look for that at WisconsinExaminer.com. I always like highlighting by name some of the folks on your team who are working on things. Baylor Spears is already working on the governor's race and recently caught up with former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes.
Yeah, Mandela Barnes was in Madison yesterday at a bike shop, and Baylor talked to him, listened to his pitch on his campaign, and he was there to talk about tariffs and the problem with tariffs for local businesses in Wisconsin. And she will continue to be following around several of the candidates around the state.
Yeah, Ruth Conniff is here, the editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin Examiner. Henry Redmond is working on a story about Wisconsin land trusts. And we have talked on this program before about the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund and Republican legislators' efforts to defund it. Again, an instance where you hear that there's bipartisan support to a certain level for this program. But in terms of what actually passes a Republican-controlled legislature is another matter. And Henry's headline says it pretty well: just don't kill it.
Yeah. I mean, that is a quote from one of the sources in this story who's really worried that Knowles Nelson is not going to be renewed. And that would affect about 700,000 acres of land in Wisconsin that have been protected through this very popular program that helps to pay for setting aside conservation areas in the state. And he really digs into what a huge difference it will make for places like Door County, places that attract tourists because of the beauty of the natural landscape there. And there's a lot of beautiful parts of the state that will be lost if they don't renew the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund. There are a couple of different proposals. There's a Republican and a Democratic proposal to renew it. The sticking point for some Republicans up north is that they feel that there needs to be more private ownership of land and that this has blocked development in some areas. And there's a debate about what's a better value for Wisconsin. But also there's a concern by Republican legislators that they don't supervise the DNR enough. And so the Republican proposal would make any land purchase of $1 million or more go through the legislature to go through. That process is so slow that conservationists say it wouldn't work at all. And so then there's a Democratic counter proposal that just raises the cash limit on what the legislature supervises before DNR can be involved in setting land aside. It doesn't seem like they're going to work this out.
No. And it always makes me nostalgic for those days when Republicans campaigned as the party of local control and smaller government. And the record since they've taken over has been about micromanagement. And that's what this Republican bill is about, is again, allowing for micromanagement of individual parcel purchases, as opposed to the Democratic proposal put forward by State Senator Jody Haber-Sinekin that would reauthorize the program and create an independent board made up of members appointed by the legislature to approve large land purchases through the program. I, again, will plead guilty to having rose-colored glasses on and thinking, well, maybe there's enough support that they'll work out some kind of a compromise measure in the fall session. That did not happen. So now we're left asking ourselves if this is going to get done in January, February, or not at all for the year.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So we're talking to Ruth Conniff here from the Wisconsin Examiner, and there's one other story I wanted to mention, and it is, of course, about Trump's trade war and Wisconsin farmers. The headline is Trump to send $12 billion in one-time payments to farmers to offset ag losses. And Offset is doing a lot of heavy lifting on there because it's more than $12 billion in markets that farmers in Wisconsin and elsewhere are losing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the effects of the trade war when all this bumper soybean crop was just sitting in the fields and China was no longer purchasing any soybeans from our country. That crisis has temporarily been averted because China's buying some soybeans from the U.S. now, although has opened up other markets in Latin America. So we've lost a big portion of that market for our Wisconsin soybean farmers. The long-term effect of the tariffs and trade wars is to destabilize markets, and it's not going to be fixed with a one-time cash payout. The other thing about the cash payout from the Trump administration is that the Trump administration says it's coming from tariff revenue. Well, the revenue is the money that farmers are paying to pay more for products that they used to pay less for because of these tariffs. So farm equipment, the inputs, the fertilizer, the tractors. That money, it's sort of, they're giving back some of the money that the farmers have paid in a tax in order to say, well, here, we've made it up to you for the tariffs. And it's a one-time payment. So it doesn't fix the structural problem.
No, it doesn't. And again, it's creating a problem and then claiming to have solved the problem that you created. The article notes that a reporter asked if Trump would be open to another round of relief. Trump said it would depend on how international trade develops and said farmers would not want further aid. He says China is buying a lot. Other countries are buying a lot. Farmers, they don't want aid. They just want a level playing field. Yeah, but except they're not buying a lot yet. They're buying a lot
buying
less.
a lot, and all he's offering is the aid. So it's a lot of doublespeak. He's offering aid. He's not fixing the structural problem. He's saying farmers don't want aid. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. So read up on that and everything that Ruth's team is doing over at WisconsinExaminer.com. Ruth Conniff, editor-in-chief. Always nice to catch up with you, Ruth. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too, Pat.
All right. We'll have some final news and notes here from Lake Wissota coming up in just a bit. Then, of course, we've got Matenaer on air, Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach. 4 little days left here before Jane's retirement, so you want to tune in for the surprises that Greg and others are conjuring up for making sure that, Jane has all the tools she needs to ride off into the sunset and go, hey, that was fun, but it's time to do what's next. We'll wrap things up here in just a bit. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mornings with Pat Kreitlow is affiliated with the Civic Media Radio Network and airs on select Civic Media stations weekday mornings from 6 until 9. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
And last but certainly not least, on the Civic Media Spotlight, we have Max Inc. with Terry Barr. This segment is with area artist Craig Bauman, who has been traveling to Jamaica for many years to rehab and build houses. These are often very low-income houses, and unfortunately, the recent hurricane means his trip to Jamaica, with volunteers from Wisconsin, of course, looks very different. It will be a lot of rebuilding, and most places don't even have their power back.
When will it come? Soon, they said. In my head, just ready to be done, have a little fun, but I'm waiting for relief to come. Bucket needs refill. As long as you're standing on the ground, as strong as a seam, you're always there for me. When I'm waiting for relief to come. Yes, I'm waiting for relief to come.
That was Relief from award-winning band, Artist of the Year, and one of the members of the People Brothers Band, Craig Bauman. He sings, plays guitar, but it turns out that he can also swing a hammer too. He wanted to help others, so Craig adopted a community in one of the poorest regions of Jamaica. It's part of the mission he started years ago with hope of making everyday living conditions just a little bit better. Now, with the recent hurricanes, he's pushing himself harder to fulfill the promises he made to those he considers part of his chosen family. Here's Terry Barr with more.
He's a local musician who found a greater calling. He has been building houses for those in need in Jamaica for many years, and I'm looking forward to talking with him about it and getting an update since the recent hurricane. Please welcome Craig Bauman. Craig, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Terry.
I know that this has been a difficult time for so many people you know in Jamaica. Let me first start out by telling people that your organization is JAM for Jamaica. You're also a member of the People Brothers Band and then your own band, The Story. But tell us about Jam for Jamaica. Why did that really grab such a big piece of your heart?
Something that we all love and we all learn from, and we're able to teach through and really benefit some people and help some people. And we've been at it for 20 years now in the very center of Jamaica in a town called Porus near Mandeville in the Manchester Parish, right in the center of the island. So they took a good shot from the storm. Category 5, 200-mile-an-hour winds. There's some people that are just now getting in touch with me and other people in their lives. Phone call I got today was in the grill, and they're just starting to get some of the logistics back online so people can actually think about conducting business and doing what they're doing. There's just disaster status all over Jamaica right now.
How hard has this been for you to not really see with your own eyes what's happened there?
It's always pretty rugged there, but to see some of the video, the trees have no foliage on them, which means the fruit fell to the ground. It's going to take some time for a lot of this habitat to reform.
How many houses or pieces of homes do you think you've helped build in the last 20 years?
Over 200.
Wow. Do you have any idea if any of those are still standing?
From what I've seen and heard, everything is still in good shape. I guess we're doing something right, and we'll keep doing it. What I haven't thought about is some of the damage now is coming through the foundations. So maybe the house is intact and the roof is still intact, but some of the foundations are shifting.
What would you say about the people that you know? In a way, you've adopted people there.
We kind of did a copy and paste to make it more feasible for us to not have to cut through so much red tape and to be able to really help people that need help directly as we see it, not just top-down type mentality. It's more of a ground-up thing. Far more organic, and we've been able to just help people in the matter of a day or a half a day after we meet them. Sometimes we just help them and be on our way instead of cutting through all the red tape. We can continue to go there and interact with this community that we've really fallen in love with and have become a part of. I've been able to take hundreds of people there on these missions. I'll continue to do it as long as we can. And now it's a demand. It's something that is a necessity. It needs to happen because of Hurricane Melissa. There's no way to prepare for any of that. And all we can do is just keep our ears open and our eyes open and make sure that we're trying to help the people who need help.
What happens next?
Yeah, we're definitely going to stop by some of the hospitals and the schools and make sure that they're getting the relief, or at least have a plan in action for what's going to happen for those types of crucial establishments and crucial teams that should be supporting anybody else that needs help. We're going to start there. We already had some initiatives in mind as far as rubbish removal, and it's just something that needs to be addressed, and now everything is rubbish.
Do you have a date in mind when you hope to get over there?
We'll be there the third week of January.
For anybody that will hear this, if they want to learn more about it, if they want to make a donation to try to help out, where should they go, Craig? What's the best place?
Our website is jamforjam.org, jamforjam.org, jamforjam.org. I'm mostly speechless. I've kind of shied away from asking people for help, but this is a time where Jamaica specifically needs our help.
Craig, thank you. It has been a pleasure talking with you. Please be safe in your travels, and I hope you're able to get done everything that you have as part of your adoption of this area and part of your mission as well.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks for speaking with me. I appreciate it.
And Terry tells me there's a $20,000 fundraising goal for Craig's January mission, and it just hit the halfway mark. It is the season of giving, and if you'd like to learn more or even support the effort, go to jamforjam.org. That's jamforjam.org.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.